Hello and welcome to Did You Know Gaming Extra. In this episode, we'll be exploring trivia relating to some of the many Flash games that have released over the years, and their resulting commercial video games. It isn't any surprise to hear that the origin for a number of popular games released for home consoles over the years was in Flash, being an easy-to-approach coding language with a lot of flexibility in what it can deliver. With Flash being phased out as a standard web format due to Apple's lack of support since 2010, Chrome dropping it in December of 2020, and with its owners Adobe dropping its support, perhaps now is the best time to look at several games that made the most out of the platform, and of course, the places that were portals for these games, such as Newgrounds. But before we get into the trivia, this video is sponsored by Summoner's War. Summoner's War is celebrating its first ever collaboration, Summoner's War Cross Street Fighter V, featuring the iconic characters Ryu, Chun-Li, Dalsim, M. Bison, and Ken. And you can even get Ken for free! Summoner's War is the world's top mobile turn-based RPG with over 110 million downloads on the Google Play Store and App Store. The game also has a huge global community, getting tens of thousands of concurrent viewers during esports events. The game constantly evolves with its in-game updates, new features, and characters. And with over 1,000 unique monsters to collect and awaken and endless ways to structure your team, no two battles will ever be the same. Summoner's War also has weekly in-game events and many different dungeons for endless variety. Summoner's War is also celebrating the Street Fighter collaboration with an augmented reality filter event on social media. Go download Summoner's War in the description below and summon your free Ken now. Newgrounds, one of the most popular online Flash portals ever, would eventually become the foundation of a new game development studio called The Behemoth. Their first commercial game was Alien Hominid, a somewhat standard run-and-gun platformer utilizing a very Flash style of vector artwork that made it stand out from the crowd. The game was never intended to be a full production console game, and was only made as a hobbyist work attempting to recreate Metal Slug and Contra-style gameplay mechanics within Flash. Tom Fulp and Dan Paladin enjoyed creating new concepts that pushed Flash beyond what many assumed it was capable of. This cool tech demo was just their way of inspiring others who worked with Flash, and showing them what's capable within the action script coding language. It was soon evident that the game should have been bigger than just a demo, so work was done to bolster the title. This included testing out a variety of features, such as introducing shading to the 2D artwork, as well as realistic and cel-shaded 3D art. The team didn't think these really provided as much personality as the relatively simple hand-drawn animations seen in the Flash demo, nor did they think that the game would have been able to attain the kinetic energy they'd already demonstrated. At the time of Alien Hominid's console release, many drew connections between the titular hominid and that of Disney's Stitch character. Fulp was fairly annoyed about this connection made by players, as he created the game's character well before any publicity of Stitch, with the original Flash file dating March 2002, 3 months before Lilo & Stitch's release. It's not surprising that Alien Hominid would lead the way for Flash games to become more mainstream. A huge wave of indie game developers now knew that they too could break into a more mainstream gaming audience. Though being released after Alien Hominid and even the Behemoth's castle crashes, the indie scene saw a huge invested interest from gamers after Team Meat's Super Meat Boy hit the scene. Not just because of its release for Xbox Live Arcade, but also due to its inclusion as a central topic within the popular indie game The Movie. The original version of Super Meat Boy was released on Newgrounds before a full game was even created. This version, now referred to as a prototype from which the full game was built upon, was put on the site with a mature rating, including mild nudity, mild violence, and adult themes. Seeing as the game was also published and promoted by Nintendo for their WiiWare service, IGN asked lead designer Edmund McMullen about Nintendo's view of the game's supposed mature themes. He said, "There actually wasn't any of that other than mild violence in the Flash version of the game. I just lied in the submission form on Newgrounds because I thought more kids would play it if they thought they might see some boobies. I was right." When asked about why they seemed to be focusing heavily on the console market, and whether this was by choice, sound effects designer Jordan Fair claimed, "I can't speak for Edmund, but as far as I understand it, Nintendo approached him about it, and originally it was going to be one of his other Flash games that was going to be remade. And it ended up being Meat Boy in the end. So it pretty much all started with Nintendo." Although McMullen also released a demo on Newgrounds for his next game, The Binding of Isaac, this was actually after the game's official release. Whilst Isaac is mostly played in its Rebirth edition as it stands, the original version of the game was simply a Flash game sold through Steam. Like other Flash games, it was never intended to become the success that it has, and was originally made for a game jam over the course of a single week. Tommy Raffines, who'd worked with Edmund on Super Meat Boy as lead programmer, was on vacation at the time, and so Florian Himsel was brought in, having previously worked with Edmund on earlier Flash titles. The main goals for the game were twofold. Firstly, to create a roguelike game following the Legend of Zelda dungeon structure, but also to explore McMullen's relationship with religion.
Your son has become corrupted by sin. He needs to be saved.
After the week, it was clear that Isaac had a lot of potential, which they felt was simply too good to pass up. So the duo continued their work, with everything being coded using ActionScript 2 in Flash. They weren't really sure how they intended to sell the game at this stage. They weren't even sure if they were going to sell it, but they saw it was a big challenge that they'd like to see through to the end. The extent of the game's success certainly wasn't immediate, though it was never exactly struggling. During the first couple of weeks after it was published on Steam, the game averaged around 100 to 200 copies sold every day, eventually leveling out at 150 a day after a few months. While these figures broke Edmund's expectations, 5 months after release, he recalls something odd happening. Our daily average started to climb. 200 copies per day turned into 500 copies, then 1,000 copies, and by the 7-month mark, Isaac was averaging sales of more than 1,500 copies a day and climbing. I couldn't explain it. We hadn't put the game on sale or anything, so I was clueless as to why sales were continuing to grow. Then I checked out YouTube, and I noticed that fans of the game were uploading Let's Play videos constantly, over 100 videos every day, each getting tons of traffic. Isaac had found its fanbase, and that base was growing larger and larger. Not bad for a game that was meant to fail. But before Flash really hit it big, one humble game still holds strong in the hearts of many: Line Rider. The game was originally created by Boštjan Kades, a Slovenian student who had posted the game to his DeviantArt page. However, it wasn't until user Unconed posted the game to Dig that it really hit a wide audience. Whilst considered a standard part of any game involving the creation of your own stages, Line Rider had intentionally foregone an eraser tool, with the idea being that it would make any final creation all the more impressive, as it would have had to have been made without any mistakes. However, the game was later updated to introduce an eraser, the ability to zoom, and line variations. The game actually did see commercial success, with inXile Entertainment buying the rights, thus preventing others from mimicking the concept. The company published a sequel in 2008 for the Nintendo DS, Wii, and Windows, bringing in TechDog, a well-known track designer for the original game, and introducing a new story mode with voice acting supplied by Tom Kenny of SpongeBob fame, Tara Strong, and Fred Tatasciore. Now, here's an obscure Flash game that seemed to actually make some waves: Nanaka Crash. To some, this game will bring back vivid memories. To others, it might seem a strange choice for this video. The game simply involves hitting a character across a long distance, with different characters they can bump into to cause different effects, such as a boost or a slowdown. Firstly, many players may be unaware of the game's origins. It was really a fan game for Cross Channel, a then Japanese exclusive visual novel, explaining the above-average artwork as it was all ripped from a real visual novel game. Secondly, the game wound up becoming so popular that it became an official part of the Cross Channel series. In 2014, Nanaka Crash was relaunched, changing several elements of the game, including its graphics and sound, all officially endorsed by Flying Shine, Cross Channel's original developer. Not only was the Flash version updated, but the game was also published and made available on mobile formats, though these are seemingly no longer available. And now it's time for this episode's random piece of trivia, where we're taking a look at the mobile-exclusive Star Wars title, Tiny Death Star. The game is fairly obscure, considering Disney wiped it off of app stores in 2014. Released in late 2013, the game was created by both Disney Mobile and Nimblebit Games, based on an earlier title, Tiny Tower. The game was relatively simple. build upon and expand a Death Star, attracting virtual characters called Bitizens to create and run businesses from inside the player's Death Star. The game itself was completely fine. Nothing about it was particularly unfair, badly designed, or of poor quality. This wouldn't stop Disney from taking the game offline only 1 year after it was initially published, though. Their reasoning? They wanted to dedicate their efforts concentrating on what they called priority titles, such as Star Wars Commander. Tiny Death Star wasn't the only game to be taken off of the mobile storefronts, with strategy collectible card game Star Wars Assault Team also being removed. The biggest stab in the back from this story isn't in the removal of games that many had enjoyed, but the fact that Disney failed to inform Nimblebit of Tiny Death Star's removal. In fact, Nimblebit only found out after the game was removed. Ian Marsh, one of the co-founding brothers of Nimblebit, claimed the game was actually a significant source of revenue for us, so it stings that much more. He also issued a warning to other would-be developers that might be approached by Disney, saying in a statement to Game Informer, "We're very disappointed to see Tiny Death Star shuttered less than a year after launch. We had no prior knowledge that the game would be removed and no longer even have a contact at Disney." Suffice to say, if you're a developer looking to partner with Disney, this might not be the partnership you're looking for. Thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate you guys coming along. If you didn't know, a few of us are starting to stream on Twitch on the DidYouKnowGaming account. We play popular games, we play obscure games, we play a lot of games, and we all do it live. So why not come along, have a little chat, and check out some cool little games. There's a few quirky ones. There's a few you probably know, and you might learn something new. And hey, it's always fun to have a little chat. Tell us about some of your favorite Flash games. There were a lot. I know I played a ton of them as a kid, because free video games on the internet is a blessing.